As all of our viewers know, we have been on the road for many, many days. In fact, now 67, reporting the pandemic and the lockdown. Now our journey has brought us to Mumbai, where the city is grappling with an overwhelmed health infrastructure. In many cases, young doctors have spoken to doing the best can with meager resources. Why is Mumbai's infrastructure so stretched? What should the government be doing differently? That is what we're here to understand today. So, are private hospitals abdicating their duty? Remember, this is a administration that has just capped the fees that private hospitals can charge, because earlier private hospitals were charging whatever they wanted to. And are we in a situation where the public hospitals are carrying the biggest burden of responsibility without, in fact, being appreciated for it at all? Let me start, before I get all the doctors in, we get Chaturvedi of Sena. Priyanka, I know that the government has capped the fees that the private hospitals can charge, and this has just happened. But what do you see this challenge on the ground right now? Roaming around hospitals, we are meeting people who are talking about, not getting beds, not getting access to medical care, and clearly the public hospitals are snowed under. So, what do you identify as the problem?
There are a couple of things that I'd like to say. Firstly, I would want to begin on a positive note that Mumbai city, despite all its weaknesses, despite all its issues, challenges with public health, etc., we have been managing way better than many other cities and equally populated cities across the world. However, there are challenges with it. We've seen how public hospitals are overwhelmed with the kind of numbers of patients. How we have also seen doctors working so many hours in their pursuit. But these are challenging times, and this pandemic is forcing everybody to rethink their public health services, not just in India, but across the world. But in terms of whatever the government policies can help in reducing the burden on our doctors, on our health services, we are trying to do our best. And the 80%, I mean, the private hospitals, the amount that we have is also because we've been receiving a lot of complaints that private hospitals have been charging obnoxious amounts of money. Maybe at this point, private hospitals need to understand when history will judge us all. History will judge us whether we were profiteering out of this crisis or whether we were cooperating in this crisis and working together to fight this pandemic. So since it wasn't coming from them, we were unfortunately forced to do this. So again, it is about cooperation and private hospitals also coming forward. However, I would again not want to pin blames on anybody. It is a fight that everybody is fighting, solutions that the world is trying to find. So wherever there are loopholes, we will try to plug them. Wherever there is shortage, we are trying to plug it and trying to create as many bed facilities. Just to give you an example, as of now, the number of beds we have about 77% occupancy. I hope it doesn't go to 100%. So while we continue to test and trace and treat, we would hope that we have things enough, infrastructures strong enough to be able to handle it.
Now, Priyanka, before I open it up for the doctors, one of the things you said was that history will judge this moment. Before government actually capped the fees of the private hospitals, some of them actually refused to open. Some of the smaller private clinics that I found were absolutely shut. And, where there was a mismatch of demand supply at the public hospitals, people started judging the hospitals very harshly. In fact, we have Dr. Rushabh from Sion Hospital, where those videos went viral of dead, of bodies next to patients. And Rushabh told me that, look, we're totally demoralized. None of you even understand what we're going through. So what I want to ask you is, why did the state government not requisition the private hospitals much earlier? After all, that was what this period of the 2 months lockdown was meant to do, to prepare the health.
No. Firstly, about this capping of the fees is just one part of it. Ensuring that these private clinics and private facilities open up is something that the government had intervened long back, especially when we realized that the scale and of the pandemic was much larger in the city, simply because we were going for aggressive testing and we knew we would need these beds. We would need private hospitals' participation. So that has been happening. However, we also hope while they are opening up, they would ensure that facilities are available for all and they are affordable pricing. And there was a lot of pressure, and hats off to Rushabh and many like Rushabh who have been, fighting it out day in, day out. They're actually doing the humanitarian service in the times of crisis. I know words are not enough, but the city is extremely grateful to every single doctor out there. However, it is something that wherever the loopholes exist, and as soon as we get feedback, you would see how we are actively engaging with the people, actively engaging on all platforms of communication, and wherever loopholes exist, we try to plug them in. So in terms of getting them to open up, we had also ensured that the Epidemic Act ensured that these clinics open up. Doctors have, of course, written back aggressively saying that most of the city doctors are above 55 years of age. Then they also had issues about not having enough equipment. The city has enough equipment to ensure that they are all safe, and we will do our best to ensure they keep their safety in mind. There's no government. This government is absolutely not working on the basis of putting our forces out there without any equipment. We will do our best. So again, like other cities are struggling, grappling to find solutions. Look at Spain, look at European countries, Germany, and various other nations. I can give a example of, however, at a time of crisis like this, Maharashtra, while having high numbers, is also managing to ensure that everybody has the facility that they seek and they deserve.
Okay. Sanjay Nagaraj. Sanjay, in fact, I must thank you for first alerting me that Sion Hospital had another side. And in fact, large parts of the media had vilified Sion Hospital without actually getting into what the young doctors there were going through. You just heard Priyanka. If you were to step back and tell us what's actually going on in the ground in Mumbai, what would you say is happening? There is, of course, a demand-supply mismatch. And now, you have private clubs, you have stadia that have also been kept aside with beds. Is that enough?
Okay, so before I come to the question of is that enough, so let's just understand that a lot of the problems that we right now were actually seen even before COVID. Let me share this with you, Barkha, that in this city, unfortunately, if you go back, there have been so many instances of individuals going from hospital to hospital, looking for a bed, even before the COVID times and dying. So it's obvious that this city's healthcare infrastructure does not have any sense of prioritization, coordination. If you look at it historically, the three main teaching hospitals of the corporation, are always talked of as very good teaching training centers. But, the Mumbai Municipal Corporation has not been able to keep pace with the growing city, the growing suburbs. And on the other hand, you have this humongous growth of the private sector, largely for the rich, whatever they may say, but it is essentially meant to serve the rising middle class. And so we created these two parallel worlds. I must also say that, the deal with the private sector, there is a basis for this. The basis for this is that a lot of hospitals in Mumbai are actually charitable hospitals. And we must understand this, that charitable hospitals get concessions from government. So therefore, they are actually giving back to the city and giving back to us because they get concessions. We must understand this framework. Coming to a question, what happens right now? I think we were unprepared for the numbers. For the first 1 month, we focused on one hospital called Kasturba, which was not at all in a position to take the kind of load that was coming up. And then suddenly all hell broke loose. I think there's a lot of good intention, a lot of good hard work by the MCGM, by individuals, by NGOs. But this kind of a pandemic is not about good intention and just good intention and hard work. It's about very good coordination. So the state government, the MCGM and the private sector needed to coordinate much earlier than this. But better late than never. Let's see the new scheme does. I think it's good that they have come on board, because I think we must also understand that the capacity of the private sector in Mumbai, especially to treat sick patients, critical care patients, is tremendous. And if they can be brought in, we will save lives.
Yeah, and I do wonder why this did not happen before, but we will get a perspective from the private hospitals in just a moment. I want to bring in Dr. Rushabh. Dr. Rushabh is a young resident doctor who works at Sion Hospital. The country got to know Sion Hospital first when those viral videos happened of more than one patient on a bed, on bodies lying next to patients. And Rushabh, I remember meeting you at Sion then, and you said that, look, if Italy and Spain's hospitals can be overrun, why would we not be overrun? Why are we being judged like this? Today, do you feel that the public health system is carrying the primary responsibility and the private hospitals have not done their duty?
I'd like to thank you, ma'am, to bring me in, first of all, and I'll thank all the seniors out here. I'd like to point out that there has been a mismatch between the growing population as well as the alarming healthcare problems and reports according to the bed available in India. So we need to understand that when there have been, say, supposedly around 10,000 beds added in the private sector, there has not been a proportional adding of beds in the government hospitals. At the same time, when India has 40,000 medical graduates passing out from a government, from the medical system in India, at the same time, not many are keen to come back and practice in the government setup. So there's a huge mismatch between the bed and the patients, doctors and the patient. We had quoted even then that India has a doctor-to-patient ratio of 1:1,500, a sister-to-patient ratio of 2:1,000. A doctor takes care of the hospital work as well as the administrative part of it. We need to look after our health. We need to look after our administration. We need to look after our needs. Because, the very newest of the developments in Sion Hospital, I would like to point out is we are running out of our canteen members. So we need to look out after the sourcing of our canteen and in the end, getting ourselves fed. So when a resident doctor or a doctor in a government college...
Elaborate. Rushabh, I want Priyanka to respond to it. So can you elaborate what is happening with the canteen members at Sion Hospital? What is happening actually?
So basically, one of the canteen members had actually tested positive, because of which a panic ran within the members of the canteen, and now it's running short on staff. So they're not able to cope up with the resident doctor demand, which is at the very least at present, because we've been getting funded for food from Tata himself. But now such kind of things are going to stop. We need to have those canteen facilities within the campus, not only just for patient. It's a welfare state. It runs for the relatives as well. It provides food for relatives as well. But even if it is not for the relatives, if it is for the resident doctor, we need to understand that the major workhorse of the government medical colleges and the hospitals are the resident doctors and the interns. If they're not fed well, they're not paid well, if they're not given their quarantined well, the healthcare system is going to collapse in India. And how are we going to save when the healthcare system collapses?
So I think it's important to get Priyanka here because, in military conflict, Priyanka, it's the Jawans who are at the front line. It's the young officers who are at the front line. In this battle, it really is the resident doctors. And I think a lot of people don't understand. And you think of something so small as the canteen. We won't even think about it. But for them, it's literally the food on their table. So just a quick response, and then I'll go to the other two, Dr. Parekh and Dr. Bhansali.
I think whatever Rushabh has said is some well-meaning feedback as a resident doctor in a public hospital, in a BMC-run hospital. And I'm taking it in absolutely the right spirit. And if there is a loophole that exists, and unfortunately, even the staff is so stretched, and many of them unfortunately have tested positive, we will, as a government, also try and pool in whatever resources we have through public-private partnerships, which we are seeing are doing well. For example, the Seven Hills Hospital that has come up. For example, many such instances, like he was mentioning how Tatas have been providing food. So we will look into this, absolutely look into what Rishabh's feedback is. And I'll put it across to our team, and we will do whatever we can to ensure that this particular loophole is also plugged and they looked after. However, there's one thing I'd like to say here. This pandemic has definitely opened the eyes of course, not just the government. The government knew that we are stretched for resources. We expect to allocate more budgets to our health facilities and to ramp this up. We've also realized that density of population does not match up with the facilities that is in place. So the density of the city's population. How are we going to ensure that there are health facilities? So I'm very certain that even the budgets are going to be reorganized so as to be able to ensure that in times to come, we do not see a crisis. Of course, this is an overwhelming crisis, but it is also a lot of lessons that we are learning. And only when we learn lessons and try and ramp up our infrastructure, would we truly say that probably made out of a crisis, we've made an opportunity come through.
Okay.
I would like to make a point here, if I'm allowed to.
Okay, Rishabh, go ahead, but I go to the others. So
Yes, it's been long debated. India used to spend around 4% of its GDP in 2011, which was later on decreased to 1.5 in the latest census of WHO.
yeah.
Yes, it's late for us to realize, but better late than never. I hope the budget allocation goes in a better way for ramping up the government hospitals. There is a scheme which is taken in for private-public relationship where major big hospitals like Apollo or say Narayan Rudhyalaya, which offer telemedicine services, are also taken into account and are given their due share. And at the same time, I mean, we need to honor the workhorses. We need to give them good quarantine facilities. We need to give them good pay so that people actually want to become a doctor, not forced to become a doctor or not out of nowhere are just becoming doctors.
But can I just come in for a minute just on the issue of the budget to just say that, because Priyanka said that, they will now look at everything. Praja Foundation brings out a report every year, Priyanka, and if you look back at their reports, the health budget of the corporation is underutilized for 4-5 years. So it's something that's worth noting, that the entire budget is not even utilized.
No, Mr. Nagral, I wasn't at any point saying now we will look into it. What I was saying is that we will have to, now that we are faced with a crisis such as this, not just Mumbai city, not just the Mumbai local corporation. I'm assuming that we are all talking about the nation also at large, that the nation, when Mr. Rishabh says, Dr. Rishabh tells us that we are spending just 1.7% of our budget allocation, GDP allocation on health facilities and ramping up the then what he's coming from and what even I'm coming from is not just the states, not just the cities, not just the local corporations, but even the center. So it is something that everyone will have to augment, understanding that this challenge doesn't just exist in a city like Mumbai. Mumbai is one of the most densely populated cities in the world, but it also exists in a city like Bhopal, Indore, Ahmedabad Civil Hospital is giving you examples of these, and various other facilities across this country. So the point, do not reduce it to just the BMC here. I would make you also as a doctor, an experienced doctor.
But we are discussing Mumbai, that's why I bring it
forward. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to Sanjay and Priyanka. I just want to go to Dr. Anish Parekh of Jaslok and Dr. Bhansali, who represents Bombay hospitals. Now, some data before that. Sanjay mentioned charity hospitals. Dr. Bhansali, of for-profit hospitals in Mumbai that actually fall within charity hospitals. They got lands at concessional rates and so on. And data now shows, and I was talking to Dr. Sudhakar Shinde earlier, and he says data now shows that while 20% of beds in these private hospitals are meant to be for poorer people, 80% of those 20% were lying empty. Secondly, after capping the fees of what private hospitals were charging, this is what the difference is. Earlier, private hospitals were charging 50,000 rupees per bed, and now that is down to 7,500. Earlier, private hospitals were charging 60,000 with ventilator per bed. Now that is down to 9,000 rupees. Now, these are huge gaps, Dr. Bhansali. And one of the things that Dr. Sudhakar Shinde said, he said that private hospitals are selling corona packages like their holiday packages. I found that quite a statement, and I want you to respond to it, Dr. Bhansali.
Barkha ji, one thing I can tell you that private hospitals are one big misconception are there in the country that all industries are collapsing. Only hospital industry, especially private hospital industries, are flourishing. So one thing I can clear, you just go and visit any private hospital, occupancy is hardly 10-20%. No patient wants to come to any private hospital who is having COVID positive patients. Only emergency surgeries are there. Okay, so one thing should be very clear. There is no profitable things at all because occupancy is not there. Second thing, government instructions are very clear whether your staff come or not, doctor come or not, nurses come or not, ward boy, sweeper, aya bhai, they come or not, you have to pay them salary every month. Their thing is clear, so hospital has to pay. Third thing, why private hospital was not there that much into COVID, the basic problem was structural problem. All private hospital or maximum private hospital have single stand-alone building. They have centralized AC system. For COVID patient, you need negative pressure. You need a separate entry. You need separate exit, separate lift, liftman. Everything you need proper system. which private hospitals they don't have. Yes, I agree. Private hospitals definitely have best of critical care unit. They have best of intensivist. They have best of ventilator, no doubt. But from day one, I am in the BMC Task Force Committee. I am there in all the meetings. From day one, when that first patient came to Mumbai, all private hospitals participating, giving their critical care bed. This is totally wrong. That per bed is 50,000. You can show me the bill. Per bed is 60,000. This is totally wrong. Why bill was 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 per day? It's not bed charges. Bed charges was keeping from day one by the BMC.
So,
4,000 rupees. Listen, it's a 4,000. Listen, please.
I said
4,000.
I mean what you pay hospital, so it includes the fee that has to go to the doctor at the hospital.
No. We doctor don't charge at all. The charges, maximum charges was PP kit, N95 mask, gloves. You media people say that healthcare workers should be protected well. You just see the calculation. If one ward is there are 10 or 15 patients are there. There are not only 2 sisters or 2 doctors.
No, Dr. Bhansali is getting this carried away.
No. You listen. Listen, you don't calculate. You see, you think you
also work in a private hospital like you, Dr. Bhansali, and to say no doctor is charging is very disingenuous. There are good doctors, but
in this Corona period, I have looked after.
I also work in a private hospital.
Right now,
I work in a private hospital. I can show you bills. Yes. I can show you bills.
Yes.
Doctors are very much charging. There's nothing against doctors charging.
That is,
to say that doctors are not charging is very disingenuous.
No.
Let's not make all these kind of
in this Corona period, especially in our Bombay hospital, like me, I have seen more than
Bombay hospital.
Not all doctors, but like me, so many doctors they don't charge. They say COVID patient. Not only me, but so many doctors they said COVID patient हमको charge नहीं करना.
Dr. Bhansali, there are bills circulating on social media. Have a look at them.
How many bills? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many bills?
My old colleague doctor who got admitted into a hospital got a bill of 2 lakhs, out of which 90,000 was PPE. She has filed a complaint.
So PPE. Yes, you are right. You are right. No. Listen. You are absolutely right. Who made PPE kit? Not hospital. These are the industry. Why don't you capping on the PPE kit? Why don't you cap? Why don't you call all the industry kit? No, look, PPE kit costing 500 rupees. Why are you giving in 2,400, 800, 900? Initially, PPE kit was 4,000 rupees. Now they are giving it in 600 rupees. So you should call all industry people. Why you are charging PPE kit that much?
I don't think we want to get into that area of...
No. You should look into that. All the time blaming doctor, all the time blaming...
Lots of things about how hospitals procure things. Which is a tricky area. Slippery slope.
From day one, all private hospitals are working with the government.
Gautam ji, 1 minute. Everyone...
Ji, Barkha ji.
ये जो numbers हैं, these I have got from the government. This is their own calculation. That this is the gap between what someone was paying on average at a private hospital
and
what they will pay at a government hospital. They have standardized the rate. I assume conversations with government, you all have worked out the PPE cost. Dr. Parekh, you represent Jaslok Hospital here. Now, of course, in an ideal world, we should not be having a private versus public debate. But the fact is that it has, 1 minute, Dr. Parekh, it has taken 2 months to requisition the private hospitals because many private hospitals just refuse to open. A lot of private clinics have been shut. I have seen this with my own eyes. Has this been somewhat of a moral failure? And Priyanka was saying history will judge us. Has the private medical world done less than it should have?
Well, first of all, everybody has done less than they could have. I'm not so sure about should have and how much should have been done. As you're aware, Barkha, I've been following this pandemic since January, and I have been fortunate to have worked in 3 systems. I am a product of the public hospital system. I trained as a medical student and was there as a lecturer all the way through for several years at the KEM hospital. 3 generations of my family have trained at the KEM hospital. My dad went there within 20 years of their institution opening. I've studied there. My son has studied research over there. So I know the public hospital system very well, and it has tremendous strength in our country. You can walk into a public hospital in our country, and even if they don't have a bed, they will accommodate you. It's very rarely patients were turned away. And the training that I got at the KEM hospital served me in good stead. when I trained abroad in the best hospital in the United States, the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, where I trained and taught for 4 years. That system has its strengths, but it also has its weaknesses. That system in the United States, I'm not talking about Hopkins in particular, is also falling apart in many, many different cities. And Hopkins, for example, every 15 minutes is giving an update on what is happening across the world and has been the forefront of the battle. And then for the past many years, I've been at the Just Look Hospital, which is a private hospital. I've seen all these three systems, and they all have their strengths and limitations. The public hospitals are doing a phenomenal job today. And, you know, when these videos, I can understand what Dr. Rushabh is saying and how demoralized they feel, because, you know, you're showing videos of dead bodies lying there and casting an aspersion on the whole hospital. We are in a natural disaster, like a fire, like an earthquake, like a tsunami. You will find dead bodies everywhere. And what do you say to the fireman? People like Dr. Rushabh at the forefront are like firemen in a burning building. And we sitting in the luxuries of our studios are commenting on what they could have done better. If a fireman walks into a site, there are 3 dead bodies there and 2 people who are dying. Sometimes he has to, on the spot, take the decision which of the 2 dying people he needs to take out first before the other. These are the heart-wrenching decisions of triage that doctors are making. And they are attending to a dying person while not looking at a dead person. And where is the moral question over there? And other than the patient, we are not looking at these doctors in the public hospitals who are working overtime. They are working with razor-sharp focus on the patient that they're dealing with, forgetting about their own safety, forgetting about their own hunger, forgetting about the risk they pose to their families, and sometimes the hostility with which they're greeted when they go back to the places where they live. So there's tremendous things happening over there. And we have to understand some of these differences, which I am following as a research on a regular basis. You know, Dharavi has a density of 276,000 people per kilometer, as opposed to New York, which is 26,000 per kilometer. And in the United States, you have an average of 476 doctors for 100,000 people. And in Mumbai, I'm talking about Mumbai alone, there are 54. And yet, despite that, has anyone ever marveled at something that's tremendous and just explained away as demographics, young population, old population? The case fatality rate, how many people die per 100 people who are diagnosed, in New York is 10.55. In India, where the public hospitals are bearing the brunt, it's 3.55. That's a huge difference which cannot just be attributed to demographics. Now, in the United States, in New York particularly, they're doing 61,000 tests per million, and we're doing 9,000 tests per million. So, obviously, there are going to be difficulties. We are a poor country. We have to accept that. And coming to the private hospitals with which you started, at the Just Look Hospital, I can speak for the Just Look Hospital. To the best of my knowledge, and I, you know, as Director of Medical Research, I am in the center of things over there. There has been no overcharging of patients. We started preparing for this COVID perhaps before most hospitals in the country, certainly before many hospitals in the US. End of January, we had a meeting. On the 7th of February, I addressed the director's meeting of the hospital and said that we have to have SOPs in place, we have to train our staff, and we have to have dry runs. So we were fully prepared and COVID-19 ready on the 7th of March. And what happened? We too screwed up. I'd be the first to admit it. We too couldn't carry our plan forward, though perhaps being the first and possibly the best prepared hospital, one of the best prepared hospitals in the country. I cannot authoritatively say how well the others were prepared, but we had our ventilators in place, we had our equipment in place, we had training, we did dry runs, but we couldn't. So it's not possible to be fully prepared. I think, Barkha, if we are to move forward, you know, we should resist the binary attitude of, you know, this is good and that is bad. This is what the private hospital is doing and this is what the public hospital is doing. We have to work together. It was inevitable that beds would be requisitioned in private hospitals. And the private hospital should gracefully give these beds. There were concerns earlier and they were not illegitimate concerns. One of the problems in Italy, which was hit the worst right in the beginning, is that in Lombardy, the COVID patients were mixed with non-COVID patients, and that one hospital became a major focus for the spread of this disease. So when it happened at that point, it's understandable that many private hospitals were worried about their existing patients and of course their staff, and perhaps took the position, as happened on a discussion that I had with you, where one of the owners of a private hospital said we should have non-COVID and we should have COVID. That may have made sense a month ago. There may have been an argument there. But today we are in a different situation. We are in a different crisis. And so I think this distinction needs to be blurred. Instead of arguing against each other, we all need to work together. There are young doctors who are putting their lives at stake in the public hospitals. Private hospitals have facilities. We have to welcome people in. I don't see any other option.
So Dr. Bhansali, I have to start taking last comments now. Dr. Bhansali, what is the big challenge for private hospitals? What is your big challenge according to you?
So big challenge is that the problem of the staffing problem is there, because maximum our class 3, class 4 staff, they are staying in Vasai Virar. They are not able to reach hospital. That's why we were not able to open our ICU what we wanted to. That was the basic problem. But charges wise from our side, like Bombay Hospital, other hospital, I was in a meeting with the Chief Minister Saab, CS Secretary for last 1 month with all private hospitals. I took all private hospital CEOs to the Minister Saab, and we were agreed. From day one, bed charges was 4,000 rupees only. BMC already kept that. Only PP charges was the problem, and that now it was sorted out a few days back. Only that government, we requested government, please tell PP people that they should not charge more than 800, 700, whatever, 10% other than that cost of that things. So as of now, but definitely right now we are facing the nursing problem also. All nurses want to go back to the Kerala. They said, we want to go to our family people because we have not seen that like that. These are the minor problem, but still government is doing great job. BMC is doing extremely great job. I have been with the BMC community in so many hospitals. I have seen all people, all the staff, everybody is working hard. So this time we should not demoralize anybody, like whether it's a private doctor or government hospital doctor. All want to fight this corona. See, this is a new disease. This is not like earthquake, fire or like that or flood. This is a new disease. Every day we are learning new things. Every day there are new guidelines. Like private clinic, government now announced the thing that we should open all private clinic. Government will provide, BMC will provide PP kit to all the private doctors, private clinic. Earlier there was a problem that if anybody get positive, then clinic will shut, hospital will shut down. That was the panicky. Why? Because it's a new thing, new guideline. Every day we are learning. And now we are in a comfortable position. Bed has increased 20%. We wanted we should give it like tomorrow Vijay Mallya will come for the bypass surgery. He want to know whatever you charge with my driver, you charge from me. 1 lakh rupees you have to do my bypass surgery, which is not fair. It's like cheating with the private hospital. So if Vijay Mallya come, he has to pay the premium charges. If his driver come, he has to go to that 80% that government GIPSA rate. That should be follow the route. Problem is that there are two class. One is poor class. Barkaji, listen. Last 1 point.
Okay.
Only problem is, Barkaji, last 1 point. Only problem is that poor class, they don't have any problem. They can go to government hospital. Rich class, they don't have money problem. They can go to private hospital. Only middle class who have badbu in government hospital, but they want luxury in the private hospital and they don't want to pay. Right now, we are facing lot of patients. They are at the time of billing, at the time of bed, they said we want bed. At the time of billing, they said we will tweet Barkadat, we will tweet this, we will not pay, we will not go out of hospital. We are fighting with the patient. Please go. We want to give bed to other patient. This is the problem.
Okay. One thing.
But right now we have enough beds, enough ICU setup. Everybody is working. Everybody is fighting. And we are saluting BMC people and we are saluting police and frontline staff. They are doing great job.
Okay, we all smiled at the thought of Vijay Mallya because we thought कि वो पहले वापस आए तभी वो hospital जाए. वो अलग बात है. लेकिन one important point you made about was people blocking beds. Dr. Sanjay Nagral, hospitals.
Yes.
I heard about this today that the people who need the beds most can't access them. But those who can afford beds up until now in private hospitals were blocking them. Asymptomatic patients who this is some feedback on the ground that the most sick patients are not necessarily the ones who are accessing the beds in the private hospitals.
Yeah, so, Barkha, the fact remains that both my colleagues here, Rajesh, of course, is an old friend, and we debated together in a KM hospital, and Dr. Bhansali. I think we must be objective as healthcare professionals. Yeah. We work for hospitals, but we are healthcare professionals first. And let's accept it that in this country, in the private sector, there is really no policy of who should be in an ICU or who should not be in an ICU. So you have people staying there either because they have no care at home. It's a practical problem. people with very advanced malignancies can be there. Somebody is rich, stays there in a single room. We have hospitals in this city where people stay because they have money. There are, of course, politicians, and Priyanka should know this, that who have stayed in hospitals for weeks and months together when they have jail sentences. So, there are many reasons why people stay in hospitals in this city, and hospitals don't mind it because if the money is coming, that's all right. So I think the point one is making is that in a pandemic situation, it's very important that the state has intervened, because this is the time to triage. This is the time to say that those who need the bed will be inside. Those who do not need a bed will not be inside just because they have money. So I think I'm very clear about this, that this intervention government was late, by the way. They should have done it some time back, but better late than never. And I think we should now look forward to more investment by the private sector. It would have been nice if it had come on its own, but so be it. And I think it will probably help, as I said, in saving more lives. And I but help say that Dr. Bhansali and I think it was Rajesh, that we are healthcare professionals, and to say that people don't charge money, that hospitals don't overcharge. I mean, I think people are not going to believe us anymore. I think it is better to say that, look, there are problems, and that we are trying to look at it as a profession. People are not going to believe you now when you say that we don't overcharge and stuff like that. It's something. It's a very disingenuous to say that.
Okay. Rajesh, I'll allow you just 10 seconds there, then Rushabh and Priyanka can wrap it up for us. Rajesh, quick response.
I have nothing further to say, in 10 seconds, Barkha, other than the fact that we all need to work together. Yes, this is a new disease, but it's a new disease to the extent that any disease is a new disease. Any fire is a new fire. Any earthquake is a new earthquake. But over the past 100 years, there have been numerous epidemics and even bigger pandemics than what we're dealing with. So certain principles hold true. And as we go along, we learn. But I think we have to have flexibility and an open mind as we go along, since we're dealing with a new disease. And there is a moment when we need to change our policies, we need to change things. It's very easy to retrospectively say, oh, this should have been done a month ago, this should have been done 2 months ago. When we say that, we're taking advantage of having hindsight. But the person at the job at that point in time is dealing with a crisis. How is he to anticipate what it's going to turn out to be in 2 months, and how 2 months later somebody is going to judge the action that he's doing then? He's focused on his job, so we all need to work together. That's all I have to say.
Rushabh, as a young doctor hearing the private representations, any thoughts, Rushabh?
Yeah, I mean, it's honor to be here, and whatever points that Dr. Parekh or Dr. Nagar have been put forward, one thing I need to outline it is there needs to be increased collaboration between the public and the private sector, not only in these testing times, but further henceforth, there needs to be increase in the healthcare technology and the efficiency at which it is delivered, and there needs to be a competence sharing. I need to highlight one more thing is resident doctors are not being given adequate quarantine facilities or adequate quarantine time. It's majorly due to shortage of the healthcare workers. Sion Hospital resident doctors have been serving in frontline at Sion Hospital, at Kasturba, as well as 7 Hills. So you see that, I mean, a bunch of 900 doctors, resident doctors, is being distributed in 3 different places. And in end, it leads to shortage in Sion Hospital itself. So we need to have that competence sharing between the public-private sector, so that the resident doctors who have gone out of Sion Hospital to serve need to be called back, so that Sion Hospital can serve at a large and give better facilities. We can have many lives saved other than losing them just because of shortage of staff. At the same time, need to highlight that there are 48 resident doctors who are COVID positive. So when we are having shortage of doctors because of the distribution, we are facing shortage because they're getting ill too. So a better quarantine facilities for these doctors would help them getting back to work as soon as possible, and give them adequate quarantine time, 7 days of adequate quarantine time as given by WHO, as opposed to the one which is proposed right now of 2 days.
Okay, this is a really important point, and I want to take it to Priyanka. Quarantine time for doctors of just 2 days. 7 days is the prescribed WHO limit. Rishabh making the important point that 48 doctors have tested COVID positive at where he's working alone. This is worrying, Priyanka. Would the next step be to requisition private doctors to work at these public hospitals, booking ESMA?
See, I'll just say a couple of things here. I was totally nodding my head in agreement to whatever Rajesh Parekh ji was saying. And he made some very important points about the population, the density of population per bed, etc. Very valid points. Again, he also made a very important point that we cannot make it about us versus them, because this crisis is not about us versus them, whether it is about medical facilities or whether it is about politics. It is a humanitarian crisis, humanitarian medical crisis that we're facing. And the same goes for even our frontline warriors, like what Dr. Rishabh was saying. We would hope that we will not have to requisition private doctors. Private doctors would come forward and want to work alongside our government doctors, government welfare facilities. We have also used a medium through CMO, where CMO has invited all the retired doctors, retired medical staff to come forward and volunteer, which we have in place. We got a lot of positive response to that. So instead of requisitioning, I would say we need to understand the extent of this crisis. And instead of government having to intervene, we would expect that private doctors on their own free will would also spare some time and give some time off to doctors, young resident doctors like Dr. Rishabh Chedda. They have a long future, bright future ahead, and helping them reach there.
But would you reconsider the quarantine time for China Hospital?
Definitely. I mean, if we do have enough staff that we can, ensure that patients also not suffering, our doctors have enough adequate time, we would do that, like we did with the Mumbai police. We requisitioned the central government to ensure that some CRPF forces also come forward and do the duty in the city of Mumbai, so that our Mumbai police can get the rest that they need. We would happily do that for the doctors once we have this entire cooperation in place, which we are working on. There is no us versus them debate. Whatever loopholes do exist, we as a government come forward and ensure that loophole is also filled. So we will do that. I'll assure Dr. Rishabh that.
This was an important conversation, and in particular, I think we have to take a moment to thank young doctors like Dr. Rishabh Chedda and his compatriots who really sign off this battle. Mumbai, the city of Mumbai, all of India, of course, but in particular, the city of Mumbai is dealing with an avalanche of sorts. We have to understand what's actually happening here. And I do hope that there are lessons that have been learned from all the inputs, all the feedbacks, all the missteps, all the unintentional mistakes. No one is saying that they were intentional, but of course, mistakes are made along the way. Thanking you, Dr. Sanjay Nagral, Gautam Hansali, Rajesh Parekh, Priyanka, and of course, Rishabh Chedda for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.